The Wamsutter Wolf by Annie Proulx, from where we left off last time. Greg picked up the largest piece of the broken bowl, almost a complete half, and began piling the dirt-crusted meat into it. "Shit," he said. "This is no biggie. Quit bawling, Sherry. We'll just rinse this meat off with a little beer. That will give it flavor. Throw these steaks on the fire and the cooking will fix everything. You won't never know they fell. You come hunting with me one day and you'll see I carve my supper meat up out in the field, and it's got plenty of dirt and leaves and hair on. But all that stuff cooks off. It's not important." The old-time mountain men knew that. Anyways, don't it say in the Bible somewheres you got to eat a peck of dirt before you die? He shook a piece of meat, laid it in the broken crockery. "Now, Vernon Clarence, remember what I told you about them wolves that eat crybabies. You better hush that noise or they'll hear you. Them wolves just gobble crybabies like they was peppermint sticks. And they can find you easy because they can hear you crying." Sherry pointed at Race. "Important to me. This is just the worst place I ever lived." She glared at him and he fired up. "Worst place? How about that dump you was brought up in? I'd like to see how you save enough money for a house in town by passing out hot dogs at a school cafeteria one day a week. You think you got it bad? This is the best I can do. I've been working since I was 17, supporting this family. You're dissatisfied with everything. But you ever think of that? Ever think I might have wanted to go into a different line of work than what I do? I wanted to be a high school coach, but you got to go to college for that, and I've been hustling miserable jobs for years so I could afford to buy this goddamn trailer that you piss on. Support you and all these goddamn kids. You don't get it that the bad comes with the good. You don't take notice that there's a lot of guys would have walked, you being so fucking fat and always knocked up." She said, "You don't like your kids, you shouldn't have made so many of them. Use a rubber once in a while, and you'd have money. And no family. Why don't you get on the pill? You take the fucking housekeeping money and buy them goddamn dumb magazines you always get. You could get birth control pills instead and not jump on me about kids." At this point, Buddy decided to go back to his own place and said goodbye to Greg. Race heard him and spun around hotly. "What the hell you doing here anyway? Come for the free dinner?" he sneered. "The dinner in the dirt? Come to mess with that fat bitch I married? Come to complain about my dogs? You keep garbage in an open vehicle. You deserve dogs. You deserve a punch out. Complain about it. Go get your fighting clothes on and I'll show you what you get. I thought you invited me, but I'll sure as hell go." And he turned and started walking back to his trailer. He heard footsteps behind him. It was Greg. "Shit, buddy, don't go off mad. I'm about to cook them steaks and they will be good. Beer'll clean them off good." He stopped and looked at the self-described mountain man. "It's not that. I lost my appetite. Some other time when Race isn't so hot for a fight. Hell, he just flares up every now and then. 10 minutes from now, he'll be in a good mood, laugh, and hug old Sherry. He just likes a little bit of a fight. Gives him an appetite. There's some fights you don't take. I had my fight with Race about 10 years ago. He had been 14, a strong enough kid, sturdied up by chores, but Race already had a man's construction. Big muscled shoulders, hard arms and hands like a stonemason. What started as a shoving scuffle became a snorting, choking fight that ended with Race repeatedly slamming Buddy's face into the cement sidewalk. That night, after one look at his damaged features, his father had taken him to Doc String, who had said he had a broken nose and a broken cheekbone. The bones in both hands were broken as well. His father wanted to call the sheriff, but Buddy pleaded nasally against this. as he knew Race would follow up with a fresh assault. Greg was still walking beside him. "I didn't know you knowed him that long. We was in grade school." Buddy didn't want to talk about the Race Wham of yesteryear. There was a distant howl and then another from a different direction. Greg snatched at his sleeve and breathed heavily. Bourbon, beer, and bad teeth. His face was golden in the late light. "You hear that?" said Greg. "That, my friend, was a wolf. And it weren't so goddamn far away neither. I never knew them to be down this far, but I sure as hell know when I hear one." There's wolves in the Red Desert getting a bead on Wamsutter. We just heard the living proof. Buddy doubted that. Back in his trailer, he realized he had left the precious bottle of bourbon on the Wham's picnic table. There was nothing he wanted more at that moment than to get stinking drunk and pass out in his bed. Cursing, he decided to drive into town and get another. Because he didn't want to pass the Wham's trailer, where billowing clouds of smoke now rose from the barbecue, he decided to cut cross lots over the desert past the old pack rat trailer. He planned to circle around, pick up a new methane gas road that shot in a straight line to the county road. He figured it was about 3 miles cross country to the gas road. It could be a little tricky, but he was full of adrenaline and welcomed the difficulty. There was still enough light to see what he needed to see. Driving unknown desert terrain was dangerous even in daylight, and with twilight close, he might have trouble. Chains, a shovel, several planks, a come-along, and assorted tools, including his 30-06, were already in the back of the Jeep. He threw his heavy jacket, a gallon of water, the second pie, and a package of pork chops into the back seat. In the glove compartment were matches and candles. If he got stranded, he'd be all right. He might just park out in the desert and do his drinking there. A few hundred yards beyond the ruined pack rat trailer, he was surprised to see the faintest of trails, the barest suggestion of narrow-set wheel ruts. He thought he might be on part of the old Overland Trail or one of its many side chutes. It was almost full dusk, but his headlights picked out the ghostly ruts, and for now, they headed in the direction he wanted. But after a mile, the ephemeral track disappeared into a deep and brushy draw, and he turned north, looking for level ground. By the time he cleared the draw, it was dark, but 100 yards away, he could see the lights of a truck on the gas road. In 10 minutes, he was in Wamsutter. They're boxing me in here. In 10 minutes, he was in Wamsutter. The Wham's trailer was dark when he drove past it, but he caught a glimpse of Greg's power wagon. Climbing the steps of his own place, he yawned hugely, opened the door. He knew instantly something was different. There was a certain faint smell, and then a child's low whimper. He turned on the light. Vernon Clarence lay on one end of the sofa, and a blanketed lump he assumed was lye on the other end, and on the floor, wrapped in blankets, from his bed lay Sherry and Babette. "Sherry, what the hell is going on?" he said. The woman sat up, her red hair mashed flat on one side. "It's Race. He got real drunk and mean like he does sometimes. He hit Vernon Clarence pretty bad. I think his little arm might be broke, so Greg said he would quiet Race down. We should come over here and wait for you. I took the blankets off your bed, but you can have them back now." Jesus, said Buddy, sitting in a chair. He looked at his watch. 11:45, hours to go before daylight. You want to take Vernon Clarence to the emergency room and Rollins, have him looked at? I don't know. He's asleep now, but he's been crying bad, and he won't let me touch his arm. It does look kind of funny the way he holds it. He just cried his little self to sleep. And we will leave it there for now. This is all probably anybody can deal with for one episode of this short story. The Wamsutter Wolf.